I just realized I had my mic muted this whole time. Oh man. Great way to kick off a live stream. Happy Halloween. Sorry about that. So if there's anything I've been saying you haven't heard it, I had muted, but now it is not. So, like I said, happy Halloween. It's been a while since we've done a live stream. Obviously trying to you know, get things going. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these. So I thought since it's Halloween, we can hang out, you know, compose some scary music, some of my favorite. I have a few virtual instruments of ours loaded up. Let me go ahead and switch. So before I got this live stream going, I had a few ideas. I wanted to see if it would work. So I got my overhead camera that you've seen in some walkthroughs, so that way you can actually see a little bit of a This is using our emotional piano, an emotional instrument, but played for something that is known to have haunted people since their childhood. Hey, Matthew, what's going on? Yeah, definitely say hi. I'd love to hear where you guys are from. If you guys are, you know, fans of Soundiron and what we do, you know, let me know if there's any instruments you guys would want me to explore a little bit that I have loaded on here. So you'll see that I did load a few instruments. Some of these are the ones that are on the Halloween sale, 50% off select products. This is the last day. So if you are looking to get some of our more horror themed virtual instruments for 50% off, you can do that today. It ends at midnight PST. And yeah, some of these are not on the sale, but we do have some other libraries that include a little bit more the scarier aspects of it, like our Hyperion Strings Ensemble. This library, let me go ahead and smallin this up. This one, you know, it's our full version of our Hyperion strings, but it has a lot of really cool stuff. There's some really awesome sound design. There's also some really cool aleatoric stuff. If you've seen the Soundiron session I did composing in the style of Dead Space, I used a ton of it just because they just sound so cool. Every time I hear this one, I think of There Will Be Blood. Oh, Los Angeles, right on. You're actually not too far from where I'm at. I used to live in Burbank. But let me know how the audio is coming across too. I was doing some tests. I think it should be all right. If anything sounds too low or too loud, definitely let me know. Phoenix, Arizona, right on. Cool. I haven't been to Phoenix in a long time. It's probably been super hot over there, I would think, but thankfully it's starting to cool down, so that's always nice. I always look forward to fall and winter just because I just prefer cooler weather, but that's just me. But yeah, so we're going to be doing some composing scary music, or I'm going to attempt to. Just kind of playing around. I didn't really have anything too planned as far as kind of what I wanted to do. I just loaded up some sounds that I thought would be cool to experiment around with and put together some kind of more horror type of track. If you've been following our channel and Soundiron for a while, you'll see I've done quite a few horror inspired compositions. The music that you probably heard, or the music that you did heard if you were hanging out before the stream started going live, it's a track I did a long time ago composing like a horror theme. As I was making the track, I was like, oh, like this actually was starting to sound kind of like something that would be like an intro for like a horror TV show or something. Because it's a little bit more, even though it's like haunting, it's a little bit more melody driven. But if we want to start exploring some of the stuff I have loaded up, I got some ambiences from Low. This is the Low within Glitch Hero. So we recently came out with an update for Shutter. Shutter's actually in Glitch Hero, so if you own Glitch Hero, you have that, but we've updated the individual Shutter library. So it's got the 4-layer user interface. It's got some new ambiences, so those won't be in this Glitch Hero version. Excuse me. So, but Glitch Hero has a ton of cool stuff, and I always tend to kind of reach for it sometimes when I'm going to do something that maybe involves a little bit more hybrid stuff or a little bit even horror. Like if you listen to this. I'm a big fan of stuff where you can just play a single note and it just evolves, because it just totally works for just creating like it's just like setting a mood for a track and then just, you know, being able to build on top of it. And I really love this kind of stuff. And then I got this sent to some Black Hole because that's just an awesome plugin for anything that you just want to take and just, you know, make it creepy. Let me see. Hopefully, yeah, I think I'm seeing the chat. If you guys have any questions at all, definitely let me know. This is just a cool opportunity for me to hang out with you guys and just, you know, compose some stuff. So some other stuff we have in here. I got some stuff from Rust Prime. Rust Prime is a compendium of all of our Rust libraries, including a new one. And this is from, I believe, yeah, Rust 3. Some haunts effects. Oh, awesome. You got Shutter? Cool. Let me know what you think. Yeah, it's such a cool little library, especially getting it on half off. It's $19, and it's just like one of those cool libraries to have when you're just like, man, I need to throw in something eerie, that, you know, some cool sound design ambiances or effecty hits and stuff like that. It just makes composing in that style so much easier when you just have these, you know, pre-built out of the box sounds. And this kind of stuff, it just makes me think of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And being that it is Halloween, let me know in the comments, what are some of your favorite horror movie scores? I'll tell you some of my favorites. The Exorcist is definitely one of my favorite ones. Let's see, what else? There's a lot of kind of like newer scores that are really good too. I mean, like stuff from like Alien or, you know, things like that. Or Halloween, John Carpenter. We'll be seeing John Carpenter soon. That's going to be really cool. Getting to see the master who has been doing scary stuff for a long time. And not even just scary stuff, like They Live. You know, that's not like a... I mean, maybe it was more scary back in the day, but that's one of my favorite movies. I love that. That movie is so cool. It's ahead of its time. All right, so we got that. Let me close this. We got some sounds from Rest 2. This one's really cool because this key in particular, it's just huge impacts or if you've heard a lot of the Saw movies, Charlie Clouser's used a lot of Rest over the years. Got to hang out with him in his studio a while back, and he was telling me how he's been using the Rest collection to, you know, because I mean, when you think of the Saw movies, you think dark, you know, clanky dungeon like trap rooms and stuff, and Rust is just kind of one of those libraries. I think it's just designed for that kind of stuff, you know. Psycho, yeah, Bernard Herrmann. It's funny you mentioned that. I've been listening to the Day That Earth Stood Still, and yeah, that one's still super cool. Yeah, Bernard Herrmann stuff, like that dude. Oh, There's another one ahead of his time. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, one of Carpenter's most underrated. Yeah, that's one I've never really watched a lot. I mean, I like the Halloween movies. I was never really like a huge Halloween fan. Like growing up, I think I used to always watch more like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or like, you know, Friday the 13th, Night of the Living Dead, you know, stuff like that. Halloween too. I mean, that was always kind of one of the ones that were there, but like, yeah, like more of those type of ones. And then just as years go on, there's just it's almost one of those, like when you start to try to think about it, you're like, man, there's like so many cool ones out there that like you get kind of a brain fog just thinking about it. And then this is a library we came out with, I think we came out with it last year. So this library, I don't know if you can see behind me, there's a violin over there. That is the violin I used when I sampled, or when we made this library. That's the violin that I sampled. And I am not a violin player. Let me just go ahead and say that right out of the gate. But I'm very good at making a violin sound horrible. And I tried to make it sound horrible in a good way that would be good for horror stuff. So this is one of the effects presets within that library. And you'll see it has MW in the name. So there's some stuff mapped to the mod wheel. Let me see. Let's explore this in real time. All right, so we got the X fade going on. So layer 2 is on layer B. Layer 1 is on layer A. And layer 3 is on layer B. So what's cool about these layers, if you're new to any of our libraries, if you're just tuning in, if you are, then cool, then you've been doing your homework and exploring the libraries as you should, or watching the walkthroughs and paying attention. So with these different layers, you can have different sounds. So right here we have layer 1, which is these Ponticello sustains. So I set this up to where it's always going to play. Or actually, no, I think this is just on layer A. So if I wanted to have this set up to where it always played, it would be on none. So yeah, this one's on A. Just these really subtle, kind of creepy Ponticello sustains. And then on layer 2, we have some Ponticello ricochets. And this is just me just kind of bouncing the bow and just letting it occasionally do these little sustains. Oh, you have this one too? Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Is it Mika or Micah? I'm always not sure how to pronounce that your name when I see it. I don't know if it's with a me or a my. I'm not sure. But yeah, so this one's cool. It's just got these kind of bouncy Ponticello ricochets. And then we have layer 3, which is an ambience. Micah. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. I'll remember that next time. If you hang out in the next live stream, I'll remember that. So this is just an ambience created from the source content. We love to take the sounds that, or the instruments that we... Oh, what? Archaic? Happy Halloween, bruh. This is Jared. For anyone that doesn't know, before I started getting really hardcore into virtual instruments and even working for Soundiron, I used to play in a technical death metal band called Archaic. And good friends of mine, known them for a long time. They're still doing their thing, tearing things up. Oh yeah, Jared. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out for a little bit. Yeah, so I used to play in a death metal band. This way, you see, I still have a guitar next to me at all times. I'm not the greatest keyboard player, but I love me some guitar. I've been playing for like over 20 years now. But yeah, so we love to take the instruments that we record, take the source, mangle it up, just make it sound otherworldly. It's always just a great accompaniment to instruments, especially like this. This just has these like reverse sounds. Nah, you shred. Like, I'm a big fan of just taking these and just playing them super low. Like, it instantly creates a mood. And then you can... But when you take all these, turn them on, and they're all mapped to the mod wheel using the X fade right here, this is just a really cool feature, and being able to blend between layers super quick. Then you could just play a single note. Bring up the mod wheel. But yeah, I don't want to get too carried away just playing around with patches because this stuff is so cool sounding. It's so easy to just do that. So, I don't know. Let's see. We'll quickly go through some of the other stuff we got. So we got some Venus cluster sustains. These are not part of the Halloween sale, but I just love these. If you saw the Soundiron session I did on composing in the style of the first Omen, Mark Corvin, that's another one. It's another awesome composer who knows how to do Horror the Witch soundtrack, the first Omen. Those, like, Mark Corbin just knows how to make scary scores, and it just does such a good job of not stepping over the movie or anything, or being, you know, too tropey and typical. But he really knows how to take a scary visual and make it scarier with the sound. Hi, when you are creating these sounds, do you think about keys and chord progressions, or are you just experimenting with sounds and textures? Are you referring to stuff like the Nightmare Violin? Because when it comes to libraries like that, to me, it's more of like an effect library. I don't really think about it too much from like, oh, is this going to work in a specific key? It's more or less like it's still, you know, focused on notes. But with that library in particular, especially if we go back real quick, just go ahead and, so like, I think it is, I'll go back to the Ponticello sustains, but I believe, or actually no, maybe it is the Ponticello sustains. If you just listen. I think it's this articulation. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Hear how it kind of goes up in pitch and then comes back on a single note? That was intentional. Because what I did is when I was sampling these Ponticello sustains, because I recorded the violin all open strings, and as I'm playing certain strings, or especially with the different round robins, I would randomly just go in and out of a half step. And I did it randomly. I didn't try to do it to where it always, like, maybe on a, you know, a third beat or anything like that land on a half step. I wanted it to just be random. I just played it by feel, just doing these long sustains, and then occasionally I'd throw in a half step and then come out of it. So if you, let's say you just play two different notes an octave apart, Here they're kind of doing their own thing. So the main idea was to literally do that, to just hold a bunch of keys, even if they're all the same note, an octave apart, played all at the same time. And you'll start to hear different notes kind of going in and out on their own. And I love that kind of stuff. I love it where you can let the randomness inspire you, especially when it comes to stuff like that. Because it's more, the approach was really to be a little bit more improvisational. We do have libraries that are very focused on keys and chord progressions, like our Traveler's Serenade, Solo Vocal Library. All those phrases are done within the modes. So if you're, you have a certain chord progression, even if you're like, oh, I wrote this in Mixolydian, you can, or D-Mixolydian, you could bring that library up, find that key, and find that mode, and then play around with the phrases to fit your track. You can even use them as sort of melody and, inspiration starters. I do that all the time, where you can just let the program a melody using the different phrases, and then you can plug in chords over it to, to build off a track that way. And then, getting into Venus. Awesome. But yeah, if you guys have any questions at any point, I'm always keeping my eye on the chat. So feel free to ask away. If there's any aspects of the libraries that I'm showing, if you wanted me to kind of try to dive in a little deeper or anything like that, we'll try to do that. We'll start getting composing a little bit. This is just kind of, warming up, letting people come in, say hi, just, hanging out on Halloween. But yeah, this is our Venus effects cluster sustains. If you have or have not heard of our Olympus Symphonic Choir, it's a huge epic choir library. It's one that we've had for a long time, and it's still a choir workhorse. We are working on some things for this library, so definitely stay tuned for that. But this one, not only does it have the all the things you would expect from a choir library, but it's also got stuff like this. Maybe some of the ambiences from Rust Prime. Oh man, there is a lot. There is a lot of ambiences in that compendium. Yeah, that library in general just has so much stuff. Not even in just the various samples and categories, but yeah, all those libraries had ambiences created for them, and then all of them are now together. Or Waterphone if you have it loaded. Excuse me. Yes, I do. I have to have Water Harp loaded up. It's like, I feel like if you're doing horror, you have to. I think the only one I don't have loaded up currently is Theremin, which I should. I'll probably load that up in a little bit. So yeah, this is our Water Harp. This is one of those libraries, if you ever just need cool sound effects for horror, this is the go-to. I loaded up the bowed long and short chromatic sustains. I think Sick is also is probably the only one. I think I was going to load up some patches. I think I will, because there are some ones that are my favorite. We also have a compendium for that one too, Sick Ultimate, which is in the name. It's just an ultimate collection of various stuff for horror. But yeah, what's cool about these is it's not exactly chromatic, but it's kind of arranged in a way to where you can, the higher you go, the higher some of these bowed sounds get. So something I like to do is just learn my mod wheel to the volume. So if you want to, you can play around with the pitch. But yeah, these are just cool things to pepper in. So like, let's just play around. So I'm gonna hit chord and yeah, just layer some stuff. This is a little bit of my process of how I start to kind of work on stuff like this. I like to just find a cool ambience just to set a tone and then kind of build off of that. So let's just play around with that. Actually, let me... This light that I have here is flashing on my keyboard. It was kind of hard to see it, so I was doing the wrong thing. So here, let me set my metronome and let's go. Actually, is my metronome? Let me tweak this real quick. Oh yeah, so this is not set up. All right, cool. Actually, let me fade this in a little bit. Then just tidy up these ends. Let me go ahead and, whoops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to auto enlarge. For some reason my keyboard, when it comes to copying and pasting, has been a little bit of a pain lately. So let me just start this here. Then what ambience do I have here? This is an ambience from Aqua Alt. A cool Bart Hopkin instrument. All the Hopkin instruments are 50% off right now too. They're not all necessarily horror themed, but they work really good for horror stuff, because Bart Hopkins just is a mastermind when it comes to taking instruments that you may be familiar with and doing his own interpretation of them and just making them super unique. And it's just really awesome to collaborate with him and be able to have virtual instruments of some of his. We have a ton of them, a couple compendiums as well, but this one's just a cool ambience. So even if we wanted to maybe play around with layering these, so something we could do. Oops. Sometimes I go to my video editing key commands. So what we could do is maybe have this play a few bars and then see what happens. So just layering up a couple ambiences. It's always a nice way to just hear those those two different layers play off of each other. And then what we could do, see, we got some, I named this sub boom. It's not necessarily a sub boom, but it's one of the soft impacts. And what I did was I found the one that I wanted, and then I spread it across the key range using this little button right here. Really easy way to do that. So that what's cool is then you can, so you could play it like that if you want, but I wanted to be able to play it like that. Just a super low subby kind of impact. And what I did, if you are curious, I have it sent to a reverb. I have it sent to the Valhalla Vintage Verb, which is one of my favorite reverbs ever. And then what I did was I used Pro Q3 and just filtered out a bunch of the highs. So if we bypass this, that's how it sounds. So you can hear a little bit more of that impact. But then when you use this, it kind of softens that attack and just really emphasizes all that low. So you can even start this track off with something like that. You could even have this play every few beats or so. Let's see, how does this sound? It's kind of subtle in the background. Should extend these a little bit. Whoops. Over here. Extend this a little bit. Could probably. If any of you are wondering what this little gadget is over here, it's just an iPad with Metagrid on it. It's got a bunch of key commands and things that when I can't remember every little key command on my keyboard or within Cubase, this thing just has them nicely visually laid out. So you can switch if you're looking at the grid. If I go back over here, you can see the grid change. So if I want like whole notes or 30-second notes, that kind of thing, just makes it super easy. Then we can go over here just to make all that the same. And then let's see. Let's see what we got here. So this is the Iron Throne. This is an effects preset. Bring this over here. This one's called the Boiler Room. I think this might be a nice addition on top of this eventually. So yeah, maybe not right now. That one's a pretty intense one. Maybe we'll use that to build up towards the end. Let's see. And then we also got some Friendo. This is another one of my go-to Soundiron libraries when it comes to, oh, I need some creepy sounding bode something. This is the one, or one of the ones that I'm going to go to. So this one is also using the mod wheel. It's an effects preset. Oh, that sounds pretty cool. Let's play around with this. Go in here, tidy this up. Let's see, do I want to make this longer? I might. Let's just extend this for a while. I might end up changing this, but as of now, we'll just make it a little bit longer. So that's the low ambience, and then we have this. Did they both? No. That's one thing I wish Cubase would do a little bit easier. If you have two MIDI tracks selected, when you select them both and then go into the MIDI editor, when you just select it, it just drags it. But I guess they do it on purpose in case you don't want that. So let's see. But yeah, we're just kind of mostly just playing around with textures and layering stuff, and then eventually kind of you can build into different sections and that sort of thing. This is more kind of just like eerie underscore. So I think what I'm gonna do is right at this point, maybe do like a big hit or something, and then go into something different. Is that too much? Maybe we'll just throw in another sub boom right on the end. Wait, that's not it. That's the symbology. I dragged it on the wrong track, my bad. Maybe increase the velocity of this. And then maybe what we can do is maybe fade in some eerie female vocal clusters right before the boom. It's kind of cool. I'm liking that. So the Iron Throne. I think this one might be a little too aggressive still. Yeah, I think we might have to wait on that one. So maybe what we can do is when the sub boom hits, maybe we can bring in a little bit of this Nightmare violin. Oh, whoops. I think I forgot to, yeah, I forgot to turn these layers back on. It's like, where's those Ponticello sounds that I wanted? All right, let's try that again. leave it at that. Let's see, let me clean this up. I always like to try to clean up MIDI when I can. I feel like it just kind of keeps things tidy and as you're moving along. Just do a little iterative quantize. So I have this Q set to that, and then I have W set to quantize the ends. So that way you get boom. So it just makes that really easy. So this one right here, you see how it's like right there, boom. Makes it really easy. Any Cubase users in here? If you are, let me know, or what DAW you prefer to compose in. It's always cool to hear what people are using these days when they're making music. So this, I think, I don't know, I might, I don't know, do I want to drop this down? Not good. Just so it's not as high sounding. Pro Tools, interesting. How do you like Pro Tools for composing with the MIDI and stuff? I've always heard some people say they're not too much of a fan of it. I know composers like Brian Tyler is a huge composer. I don't know him personally, but yeah, he's a Pro Tools user, and it's just always interesting to see because I feel like you always see people using stuff like Cubase or Logic Pro X. Ableton, I'm starting to see a little bit more of. I think a lot of times people use that for other purposes, especially for like electronic music and stuff like that. Cubase 14 Pro. Have you got the latest update? I just updated to the newest one. What is it, like 14 something? Was it 14.0.30 or 40 or something? I don't know. There's like, they're always coming out with little updates and stuff, which is cool because sometimes, you know, with a DAW like this, is, you know, complex as it is, it's always good to be updating because there's always things that can go wrong. We can do as much as we can to try to beta test, but yeah, technology will be technology, and it will try to find ways to get you. I think I last checked last week, so probably up to date. Cool. Nice. So we have this. I might want to start bringing in some of these Hyperion cluster sustains. Same here, man. Learning every day. Yup. That's the only way. Learn and apply. Those are my my motto, or one of them that I've always tried to go by, is just learn and apply, because we're bombarded by information these days, especially on YouTube. YouTube is an amazing resource. I'm very thankful for YouTube. I used to like to joke around and say I went to YouTube University because I never went to college. But if you are resourceful enough, there is lots of very good information out there. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit harder depending on what it is, but yeah. But at the same time, it's very easy to get caught in the just learning phase. So definitely one of the things that's good to do is just every time you learn something, try to apply it and just get it under your fingers, because that's just the best way. And for me personally, that's how I've always tried to learn, especially when it came to, you know, learning guitar, stuff like that. You know, because I used to have instructional videos and just like watch it and just like have it in your hands and try to, you know, do it in real time, because that's the best way to get it integrated in your brain. And just, yeah, I love it. The reason why some won't use Pro Tools because it is a complicated and intricate DAW. Logic, Cubase, and even Studio One might be a little more user-friendly. Yeah, probably. I mean, I know people always say Pro Tools is the industry standard. To be honest, I've never used Pro Tools, except for when Archaic was recording our first full-length album. My friend Sammer, who owns Seahorse Sound Studios, if you follow the Crow Hill YouTube channel, Christian Henson actually went to Seahorse Sound. Sammer's a good buddy of mine. We used to play in a band together, and he was using Pro Tools, and there was a couple times where he would step off to use the restroom or get some coffee or something, and I would, try to man the station and do some guitar tracking or bass tracking. And it's funny talking about this now, because I remember he used to have one of these keyboards, these trackballs, and I just remember thinking, dude, how do you even use this? This thing is so weird. But after a while of starting to get a wrist strain from using a normal mouse, I was looking for other alternatives. So I was like, let me try the trackball. Dom Segalis, he's a big fan of the trackball. I think he says he owns like a few of them, even like as spares. And I was like, I think I'll give it a try. And I've been using it ever since. It's funny, when I think of the idea of going back to a regular mouse where you're kind of doing this, it just terrifies me because I know I'm going to get wrist pain. Years of abuse of playing guitar and trying to play faster than I should. Let's see. At my age, I can't change what I use. Still learning Cubase after years. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think, if there's something and it's kind of like your tried and true workhorse type of thing. I mean, I think, nowadays we're always getting thrown, hey, there's this new thing, or this has this new feature. Unless it has something that you're like, I have to have that. Like I used to use Logic Pro 9. That was the first DAW I ever started on when I was first learning how to record guitar and program MIDI and stuff like that. And I was just watching tutorials for days on my lunch breaks, working in a warehouse, trying to learn how to EQ a kick drum and stuff like that. But over time, there was certain things that it didn't have. I don't know if it does now. I haven't used Logic Pro X. I know a lot of people use it. But like slip editing for editing audio, which is just a huge time-saving tool, especially when it comes to editing guitar tracks or vocals or whatever, any kind of audio. Just being able to like cut and then just drag the waveform around. Because before it would be like cut, drag the whole thing over. I had this key command set up in Logic to where when I dragged a wave file over another one, it would automatically crossfade into each other, like that kind of thing. So that was somewhat of a time saver, but just being able to like cut, and it inputs these mini fades, and then you just cut, slip, cut, slip, cut, slip. I remember watching the guy who was editing some stuff for a band that I was in a long time ago. He was a big fan of that. Sometimes you just want to get on and make music. Too much time learning and tech. I'm an old plug in to an amp and play kind of guy. Yeah. I feel you on that. Yeah, I think these days just find what works and don't let technology or anything get in the way, because it's so easy to get caught up in just gear. Yeah. I'm not one to talk. I mean, I have quite a few things here, but at the end of the day, like this, when I was making music years ago, I had not even half of what I have now. And it's just like, it has to be a tool to serve a purpose, I think. Pro Tools is only industry standard because of all of the big studios are using it. If, for instance, studios are using Sonar Cakewalk, that might be considered industry standard. Eyes of the beholder. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, it's kind of like video editing software now. Like, everyone was Premiere Pro. Now everyone's DaVinci Resolve. So it's just, whatever makes it easy to get from, start to finish, I'm all for it. That's why, even like switching from Final Cut to DaVinci, it's a little scary because I was like, what are these nodes? I don't know what this is. But once you get it under your belt, you're like, oh, this is actually super easy. And there's a reason why people start, or certain things become the industry standard just because of how good it is and how quickly it allows you to work. Sorry if I'm rambling. Have you listened to much AI music? I've heard some stuff. Honestly, I was born in '85. The idea of AI music doesn't really interest me. I think if you were born probably within like the last few years, probably that seems cool because you're raised in like this like super technology era. to me, like the stuff I've heard, it's just like, I mean, there's like, I've heard like some stuff that sounds horrible. Let me just be honest. But there's some stuff that, yeah, it could be pretty convincing, but to me, it's like that, it's just not fun. I'd rather do this, like experimenting, playing with sounds, layering stuff together, having sounds inspire you to go here and there. Like the idea of composing with prompts is just, I don't know. I agree. I'm 56 and grew up with AC/DC. Hell yeah, brother. AC/DC. Yeah, man. Same. Metallica was my favorite band growing up. You know, like I grew up in the era where kind of, you know, late 80s, early 90s. I didn't really think about, computers or anything, stuff like that. Like nowadays, like technology is just immersed in everything, and I think I still have it, in me to where like, I don't mind watching a movie and grabbing a DVD and putting it in a, well, I don't really use a DVD player now. Usually use like a PlayStation or Xbox, but, I don't mind that, I would still watch VHSs if I didn't have the fear of VHS players eating the tapes. I don't know if any of you have experienced that, but especially because VHSs are such like rare commodities nowadays. So it's like the idea of an old piece of technology destroying that. That just scares me. I hit the wrong key. That was the one I think I was... Let's try that. Let's try these creepy pizzicatos. Ticket houses are small in the UK. I believe it. I've never been to the UK, but I've been to France, and yeah, some of those places are kind of a tight fit. All right, so we started this on beat or bar 21. So let's skip up a little bit. We'll do some creepy pizzicatos, or maybe, I don't know. Do we want to start this like that? Let's try it. So maybe that could be like a creepy build-up. Clean this up. Use Ableton, but it's not the best for scoring. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I know there are people that do use Ableton for stuff like that, but it's definitely not very common, I don't think. Not that I've seen anyway. But I mean, it just whatever works for you is what I say. Tidy up this. Sorry, I had to step away for a sec. Tracks 15, 18. Tracks 15 through 18. What library is that again? 15 through 18. This is our Hyperion Strings Ensemble. It's our full-fledged chamber string library. If you've been around or been following us since Hyperion Strings Micro or Hyperion Strings Elements, this is the big daddy version of that. It's got tons of articulations, tons of cool stuff like this. So these are just the cluster sustains, but we have a lot of other really cool stuff. This is just the effects multi-mic NKI. So it's got flatandos, ponticello sustains, and a couple different dynamic layers. This one is the one that allows you to blend between them, or you can select them individually. Harmonic sustains, bridge sustains, stuff like that. Even stuff like that. If you need those types of articulations, this is just the effects. It's not even including like all the other stuff. This library is pretty wild. It's got some cool. I really like these too. These octave slide ups. So if you're doing like, makes me think of like Bram Stoker's Dracula or something. Frank and D, what's up, girl? My girlfriend's in the chat. But yeah, these are just really cool. And then we got some cluster stabs. So if you like that kind of stuff, or just really nice flatando strings, if you want to do that kind of thing, like or you could just do this. But yeah, it's Hyperion Strings Ensemble. Long-winded answer, yes. Hyperion Strings Ensemble, super cool library. This isn't on the Halloween sale, but it is definitely cool when you need those types of sounds. So this is just the cluster sustains for the cellos. I have cluster sustains loaded up for the first violins. The violas are a little bit more shorter. So actually, now that we're playing around with this, what I think I'm going to do, I might use this as a riser for this part right here. These also are some other articulations that make me think of There Will Be Blood. That's not a horror score, but the score for that is just so good. Johnny Greenwood. Let's try that. Just a quick little riser. I'm wondering if there's another. Let's see, let me use my metagrid. So I also have this other one on here that allows you this other key command that you can take a MIDI note and just pop it up an octave above or below. So if I was to undo that, if I wanted to do an octave below, boom, makes it super easy. But we're just gonna duplicate it up here, find another key that's got another sustain on it and see how they sound together. Or we can solo this. Super cool. Something you can do too, if you're a Cubase user and maybe you don't use these, there's this, it's called Parabola, and it looks like a little swoop, and you can use this and just quickly drag up these nice clean mod wheel MIDI data. Oh, let me just go ahead and boom. So nice. So let's get out of here and check this out. So maybe here we can start layering some other textures. We could bring in some of the, well, symbology is another really good one. And this one's got a lot of cymbal bowed, rubbed, frozen cymbal effects, excuse me. Frozen cymbal effects. These are the bowed gongs, and when I was just going through and finding some different sounds, these sound really cool just because they have this nice low sound to them. Almost sounds like a sad whale singing off in the distance or something. So if we want to play around with that. It's very subtle, but I like little stuff like that in the background. Even though it's very subtle, it's just kind of there, just adding another texture. And then we have some water harp. Maybe instead of the sustains, maybe I might use something else. Because there's bowed long and short, bowed effects. Maybe this might be more the jam for something like this, full sweep. A little bit more, I think, what you would probably expect from something like this. So let's try that. So let me... Sounds like I'm getting a little bit of clipping. Let me know if anything seems a little funky sounding over the stream, but let me see. Might turn this down a little bit. Something I like to use is Auto Pan. This is a plugin that's built within Cubase, and it's just super cool for automatically panning stuff. So if we just solo this, you hear it kind of going back and forth. And I love doing stuff like that. I've used this plugin so many times on past Soundiron sessions just because it's just such a quick way. Like, I'm not a fan of automating panning unless it needs to be very, very specific. But I prefer to use something like this, especially because you could, if you look right here, oh yeah, I'm not covering it up. You can sync it to your tempo. So if you're listening to it with the click, see how this is kind of like, yeah, Cubase. It's an awesome DAW. I gotta say, I'm biased because I've been using it since 8.5. It was definitely an investment for me when I was first getting it, but I haven't looked back. There's been other DAWs, like Studio One has always kind of piqued my interest in certain ways. But the idea of just like learning a whole new DAW again, it doesn't really interest me, especially when you find stuff that works and having stuff like Metagrid already set up for Cubase. It's kind of seamless for me. I'm not as knowledgeable as someone like Dom Segalis. That guy knows Cubase. Like he knows more features than probably anyone will ever use, which is awesome, you know. But you know, when you're needing to just, you know, being able to have an idea and just do it automatically or know where that is instead of like, oh, I got to go to the preferences or search this or what's that key command or whatever. You know, sometimes I'll just watch videos on YouTube of people using Cubase, and especially him. Like, I'll watch some tutorial and he's like, oh, there's this feature if you do and you can just do this thing. I'm like, oh wow, I never even knew that existed. You know, because like there's so many features in Cubase than more than I'll ever use. But it's nice to know that it's there, you know. This is my next instrument to purchase. Oh, awesome! Which one? The water harp or the symbology? Yeah, Dom's the man. Super nice guy too. I ran into him at NAMM in January. One of the nicest guys. If however you see him in videos, that's him. He is just like always just in a great mood, super nice guy, talented, super talented musician, music producer. Just, yeah, a lot of nice things to say about that guy. But yeah, I'm curious if you were Micah, if you're referring to Waterharp. Yeah, it's such a cool library, and I believe this is one that's on sale for 50% off, and it's just a cool library. Like there's even ambiances too. Like if we just want to like check out some of those real quick. I always like to go back and explore these libraries because we have a lot. We have over 160 plus virtual instruments. So, I mean, if you're ever just like, I want to look for something cool, just scour the website because there's a lot of stuff that you'll find that maybe you've never seen before. Like we, our slogans where the world is your orchestra. And that's for reason because there's so many cool things out there to record, not just instruments, but just cool things, like the Rust collection, Mike and Greg and Chris will just go out and they'll just sample cool sounding stuff. It could be trash to someone, but treasure to us because it sounds cool and we're going to record it and try to package it in a way that makes it unique and inspiring to you. But yeah, let's check out some of these ambiances. So this is on the subsynth, and we always like to include subsynth sustains. Oh, you can hear it's got the auto pan on it. Or if we want to harken back to earlier. I just learned that today. I remember I knew how to play it a long time ago, and then I forgot. And it's one of those. It's always good to know, especially if someone has a piano. You just want to scare somebody in their house. I bought the Omega bundle a couple of months ago. Awesome, very cool. Impossible to try everything. Yeah, it's one of those. The Omega bundle's got a lot of stuff in it, and it's just one of those. It's got a lot. Like once you get it, and then you start, just scrolling through and seeing what's in there. There's probably something in there for any project you're going to work on. Like that's the cool thing about it. It's got so much stuff, and it's just nice to be able to have all those sounds ready because there's a lot of orchestral strings and orchestral instruments in general. But there's always we try to have those instruments that are a little bit more kind of just unique and maybe niche is the word. But sometimes you need that because you might like, man, like I have all these sounds, but like I need this one sample library that just has that's something different. And to me, that's kind of like the Hopkins Instrumentarium stuff, like the libraries like that, or libraries like Symbology, Waterharp, very sort of specific. Nightmare Violin. It's like maybe you're just like, I just need some tension in this track real quick. Maybe I can just load this up and I just want to scare people real quick or just add some kind of eerie tension to a track. I appreciate the amount of demos of the products on the channel. Cool. You're welcome. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Like with the walkthroughs, those are always going to be there. We just want to try to, present the libraries when we release them to you guys, see the features. I try to not talk too much. I try to be, informative, but just, get down to it, show you the sounds, maybe show you a couple cool ways you can manipulate the samples in the library using the features that we put in there. Like the way, like with the recent Shutter, we added this stretching slider. It's funny in the walkthrough, I called it a knob, but that's my bad, but it's a slider. And it's really cool because you can take some of the, I think I have it loaded up right here actually. So there's this stretching slider right here. So if we were, I don't think you'll hear it for this. Let me pull up another. I know this is kind of playing, changing topics real quick, but thank you. We appreciate the, your thoughts on what we do with the channel. And we're always open to feedback of stuff that you guys want to see on the channel. I've been wanting to do more stuff like this, like live composing, because I'm taking time to make demos. So what I would like to do is maybe when I'm going to work on a demo, maybe not necessarily for a new release, because, we want to, hit you guys with it when it's ready. But maybe if I'm doing something like a composing in the style of video, I have a few that I'm planning to do. If there's anything that you guys would like to see like that, or using certain libraries in a specific kind of context, we're always open to feedback. So always let us know. I had the email for the upgrade for Shutter, but I haven't even used the original yet. Oh well, you're definitely going to want to use the upgrade if you haven't used the original yet, because the upgrade, it takes this library to another level, I think, especially with just like new ambiances. The user interface has way more, like we got the advanced tab. This is per layer, which is awesome, because a lot of times this type of feature might be sort of a global feature. So anything that you have in layers, 1 through 4, and then you'd have something like this. The effects rack is more of like a global effect. So this is its own beast where you can load up, different effects and things like that. But this is per layer, so it's really cool. So like let's just quickly experiment. So let's just load up. So this is just one of the ambiances. So if we, let's say, turned on the filter, maybe set it to the legacy LP6. So there's the source, there's graph, which is this graph right here. And then there's different things that you can do. There's like key position, frequency, resonance. So these different things affect either the frequency or the resonance of it. So something I like to do is either the mod wheel frequency or resonance. So then it's based on the mod wheel. So here now it's automatically just automatically sounds different versus this, which I mean, this sounds really cool. Like I love the sound of these ambiances. But if you're just wanting to do those kind of like sweepy things, or if let's say you're wanting to use some subsynth staccatos, turn on the arpeggiator, turn on this filter. Let me try the resonance. And then you can also play around with this too. So if you have it set to frequency, and then you can make this a little bit faster. So if you're just doing little stuff like that, it's really cool for just adding movement or little subtle pulses. But yeah, this the ambiances in this one are really cool. But I'm just using this for the sub booms. So maybe what we can start doing is maybe adding some other cluster sustains towards the end, just kind of building this up a little bit. And each key has a different sustain on it. So that one's a cool one. So let's try that. Maybe just have it sort of swell into that. Cut that up. So anyone have any cool plans for Halloween? You guys gonna be giving out candy or dressing up. I don't know. Do a lot of people still dress up for Halloween? I don't know these days. Sounds like a car alarm made of violin or violas. Oh, that's a cool one. Actually, you know what? Here, I'm gonna turn off the. I'm just staying at home with the wife, bottle of wine, etc. The kids will be eating candy. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Hanging with family and just enjoying the weekend. Nothing wrong with that. Let's play around with this. I'm gonna turn the metronome off just so I can kind of feel it out, because this isn't really like a, you know, everything sort of rhythmically to the grid. So that's cool. That's a cool one. Let me play around with that. I love just layering different textures. Like if we listen to just this stuff right here. Let me take it back a little bit. Oh, gotta solo it first. So this is just the clusters from Hyperion Strings Ensemble. Man, even just that alone by itself, those 3 tracks sound super cool. Like that's why I love these. Like when we were first gearing up to release this library, you know, I knew I was going to do a few different horror tracks with it. That's why I did the in the style of Dead Space and the First Omen, because after hearing those scores and then hearing this library, I was like, yeah, it definitely conjured up those vibes. So these are the bass cello cluster sustains. Put this over here so you can see it. So there's a little patch, you know, little chunk on the keyboard where there's some cluster sustains. So actually, I'm gonna keep these soloed because I'm kind of curious to just hear these by themselves. Just kind of playing random keys and seeing what happens. Ultimate tension builder. Yeah, man. Cluster sustains will do that. It's just, you know, and what's cool about these two is also the fact that they're set to the mod wheel. So as you can see, when I was doing the one for the basses, whenever it was starting to get a little loud, I would use the mod wheel to kind of bring it back if I just want to sort of control the volume so it's not getting too crazy. So if we listen to those again, you'll see the mod wheel kind of moving around. So then taking it back. And then that That key, I thought it, for some reason I was thinking I was playing that in the basses, but that was actually the cellos. But let's see, what key was this actually? Let me, or what sample was this? Maybe I'll just fill these in. Oops. Get these quantized. And something I would like to do too is put some of these cluster sustains for the Venus choir in here too. I know I have this lurking witch, but I might mute that for now. Let me see. Well, that's a little aggressive. But that's why I like having all these different ones mapped on the keyboard, because you can just kind of play through the different ones. Maybe one calls to you a little bit more. So you can hear these progressively get a little bit more intense. This has a little bit of that dread sound to it. I mean, they're all pretty dreadful. Not in a Gordon Ramsay, that's absolutely dreadful, but scary. Pretty cool. I like it. Let's see what else we got here. Let me unsolo this. I might mute. Well, let's see how it sounds with the Nightmare violin. Let me check something real fast. I forgot. See, good thing I have headphones that are right in my ear, because I forgot that I was playing around with the sub-synth. But let's turn the bowing back on. Let's try that again. Yeah, just a lot of tension going on. So then we got that. What have we not used? Looks like we haven't used any of this rust stuff. Let me open this up. See what's going on here. This is an effects preset called Haunts Effects. Super intense. Maybe we'll just use this somewhere in the middle when it starts to get a little bit more intense. Just kind of peppering in a few different ones. Seeing what sounds cool. Perfect atmosphere. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I love just experimenting and layering various libraries just to try to craft a really dark, haunting atmosphere. So, what else could we put? Yeah, that is that's one of my problems sometimes. So like as you can see here, you know, I'm kind of almost layering a bunch of the different stuff that I have loaded. And usually what I like to do is kind of layer and then eventually strip away. You know, like when you're doing stuff like music, you know, like production music and things like that, usually you always try to have it, you know, build, you know, every 4 bars, maybe adding a new element, taking an element away. Stuff like that. And sometimes it's just, you know, you want to like throw the kitchen sink, and then when the kitchen sink's broke, take some of the broken pieces away. I don't know. Does that make sense? Probably not the best analogy, but yeah, layering stuff, it, you know, especially with this kind of music, when you're just like layering all these different elements, it really starts to build that tension. Oh yeah, I have a little bit of stereo delay on this. I might throw a little bit of EQ on this maybe. Just to make it a little bit more not so in your face, you know. Big ol' hit on the end. The sound, it doesn't sound as crazy with the EQ on it. Like, sounds like an explosion versus sounds like someone dropped a bomb or something. And you can see these aren't, they're just kind of randomly in there. But yeah, a lot of craziness. I kind of want to see how it sounds. Do I have? Oh yeah, I do have mod wheel with this. I might just keep this really low. How does it sound by itself? Because I think I want to let a lot of the cluster sustains be more present. With this is more of like a textured element. Yeah. You want to make sure. Hopefully my battery is okay. I am streaming using my main camera that I use to do walkthroughs, but I've never really used this for live streaming, and sometimes they overheat, so I got to be careful about that. But eventually I will get more like a continuous power supply for this. It's just convenient to use the same camera. So that sounds cool. Oh, do we want to throw some piano in here? I don't think this would work with all this chaos. Maybe in the beginning. I don't know. Let's go back to listen to the beginning. It's been a while. We've been kind of messing around with this second intense section. Oh, thanks. Yeah, the piano actually does sound kind of cool there. I didn't really have anything planned. I just sort of went. So if you guys notice, I didn't record that, but Cubase has a cool feature. I have this set up as Control R, and boom, everything's there. So it's nice for situations like that where like, oh, you know, like that was kind of cool, but oh, damn, I didn't record it. Well, Cubase will record it for you. You just got to make sure to, I forget what it's called. Retrospective recording. And it's a really cool feature for stuff like that. Because there's a lot of times, I'm sure this happens for everybody, where you're just kind of playing around with an idea. Even if you're just over here, let's say you're just, how long does it remember? I think it remembers up until a certain amount of time. So if you're just kind of you're like, oh man, that was the greatest idea I've ever had. Boom, it's right here. And you could just beautiful. Thanks, Cubase. Because, yeah, it's very easy to just get into, oh, an idea hit me. And then, oh, now it's gone. I forgot. Maybe you played it one specific way and you forget. But, yeah, I think for a certain amount of time, there are some times where I've tried to do the retrospective record and it would just be like a blank thing, or there's like one note or something and it's not even the whole thing. So you kind of, for as quick as you had the idea and you played it, you have to be just as quick using the retrospective record, just so that way you can recall those ideas and have them there. Oh no, it's gone. So yeah, let's listen to this again. I think there's a couple spots in here where I probably wouldn't do that. So you can see this is just all kind of random. Yeah. So where does this start? Probably should just start it here. So I think like what I would do here. Bring this up a little bit. Actually, it's supposed to be faster than that. Oh, no, actually, I think it might be a triplet note. Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do here. Yeah, so quick thing to do, instead of going and MIDI tweaking all of these, just make two that sound good and bam, 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 bam. Let me unsolo this. Oh, cool. Yeah, I agree. Just writing on that C note. So I think this would be more... Ooh, let me get this zoomed in properly. Yeah. And bam. And this would be... So let me hold... No, this is the one I wanted to fix. Sounds cool, especially with that little kind of gritty ambience in the back. No, that's a little... It's a little early. So I wanted to have it be like... Boom. Let's see. Oh no, actually that should be quicker. Let me make this 16th. Kind of like doom, dun. Nope, quicker. Yeah. Oops, I don't want to enter a new workspace. Maybe, whoop. Cubase is trying to draw in notes for me that I don't want. Yeah, so I'm gonna get rid of that, keep going. Need to go ahead and do a little save. Sometimes Cubase likes to not save when you want. Let me unsolo this. This should be here. Yeah, I'm not really worried too much about stuff being hard quantized. Actually, where do I want that to start? Maybe here? Yeah. So I like that. I think I don't want this note. So can I... Whoops. That's not the one I wanted to move. I wanted to move this one. I love being able to just, I do, it's control left and right arrow. And when you do that, you just makes it really quick to just, sometimes I don't like having to click and move stuff. So you see, like, from far away, it's easy to, like, the little arrow things to pop up. So sometimes I like to just do it like that. Just makes it so much easier. So I have it set to control left and right arrow, but you can make it probably whatever you want. You could probably make it shift left and right arrow, possibly. I don't know. But yeah, maybe we can iterative quantize this a little bit. Just maybe that's fine. Yeah. Sometimes I like to have that little bit of, see, there's that little bit of swing in the notes. Like, if everything's like, you know, versus like a kind of little bit of like a note rake. Oop. Is that a preset on emotional piano? I'll tell you exactly what it is for emotional piano. It is literally the default. When you just load up emotional piano, it's the default. The only thing I did differently is I adjusted the pedal volume. So it kind of, you can't see my foot, but there's pedal volume for like, if you know, if you're actually playing you know, a real piano. I just turned it down because for this, sometimes you can hear it, and sometimes I just prefer to just turn it off, so that way you just, you know, stepping on it, nothing. This would be at the end of the horror movie. It's like if you've ever seen that Mr. Bean episode when they're watching, I think it's Friday the 13th or something, and then all of a sudden, like once like all this terrifying stuff's going on, and then out of nowhere there's just like this beautiful kind of like kind of thing. So like if you're like, oh, everything's okay. They got rid of the demon in the house. But not in this movie. In this movie, everyone dies. No, I'm just kidding. But let's see. So I think this, yeah, this wouldn't play out that long. This is, listen from the top. Well, actually, you know what might be kind of cool? This just popped in my head. This is why I like to leave a little bit of space before the start of wherever I'm starting to compose, because sometimes, like right now, you get the idea of like, I wonder what it would sound like if just the piano was playing first. Whoops. I want to duplicate that and bring it back. Bam. So let's listen to this. See, that's another one of those instances where, like, as you're listening to it, you start to kind of hear things in your head. And that's where AI, you will not replace this, because we get inspired every, who knows, every other few seconds probably. But like right there, I just kind of heard this idea. Let me just glue that together real quick. Hopefully this didn't, yeah, this didn't mess with the MIDI modulation too much. You think that works? Thanks, Flying Ferret. I appreciate that. I don't know your real name, but thank you. Yeah, I think that kind of stuff's cool. I as just hearing that space, I started hearing, what if there was just this eerie kind of female vocals in the background? Another thing I just heard too, so it starts off and it's not really too high. So what I kind of hear is this, like, oh, what's up, Neil? Something about low pianos that just sounds so cool. So what we could do, get my trusty octave below. Booyaka. Boom. All right, done. And then we can just doom, doom. So every 4 notes or so. Doom, 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 doom. Oh, I was trying to do that real quick in real time, but I blew it. I was trying to see if I can duplicate that in there, right? Because I was trying to see how long I wanted it to be before those low notes came in again. So let me tweak that. Will this work? Yep. Okay. So this is more of the eerie, but a little bit more sparse. Maybe they stumbled on something they shouldn't have stumbled on. The hair on your arm stood up. Ooh. All right. So that means we're getting somewhere. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes that happens. Have you ever had that where like you're working on a track, and I always do this where I know like I'm about to export. I feel like it's pretty close, and I'll just kind of let it play back. Maybe I'll turn it up a little bit louder on my speakers, and I'll just kind of like close my eyes and listen to it and see sort of like where it takes me. And like, yeah, there's a couple times where especially when I was working on the first Omen inspired track, like a couple parts in there actually were pretty scary because I was going for that kind of Mark Corbin sort of like jump scare where it's like all these like crazy impacts and shakers. And I think it was I used this too. That's one of the reasons why I pulled this up, like these or like that stuff, especially like on the score for The Witch. There's a few times I listened to that soundtrack while driving at night. I think it was around the time when it was first released, and it scared the hell out of me because there's some parts, especially I think it's kind of like in the middle of the soundtrack where it'll be quiet and then all of a sudden, watch. Let me see if I can add that in here. Like just stuff like that alone is cool. Glue it. Ugh. All right, so this is just kind of like a little, some of these sounds can be terrifying, but that's why I love them. Might need to bring this back a little bit. Let me try. Does that, I don't know if this might be, yeah, this could probably be lined up better. Pretty cool. But this is why I like kind of starting off with a small palette of instruments, because you can get a lot of mileage out of it, especially when it's more kind of more like effecty type stuff. It makes it really easy because they're really designed to just kind of, it's like paint colors, but weird paint that just sounds cool when you layer it together. Even though you can't layer paint to hear anything, but you know what I mean. Maybe it'd be cool to just like, maybe not that one, maybe. It makes me appreciate the old days where they had to create these sounds from nothing. Exactly. That's the thing that I think about sometimes. Like, we are sort of spoiled for choice these days, right? So many cool virtual instruments out there. I mean, especially like before I even started working for Soundiron, I was always kind of blown away with how much stuff Soundiron had. And it's just like, because when they were starting, the main thing about it was, it's just like wanting to create the sounds that you hear in your head or that you need, but isn't out there, and it's almost like, as a lot of sample developers came up, it's just, it's all because like trying to create something. It's like when you start a band or working on your own music, it's like you're creating something that you want to hear that maybe is necessarily not out there, and a lot of these composers, especially composers like Jerry Goldsmith and Bernard Herrmann, doing all these weird things with the orchestra that no one was thinking, because there's like a very traditional way of sort of doing stuff. And that's why I always like composers who are not necessarily traditional. It's like maybe they grew up on hearing traditional stuff, but they don't quite know how to speak the lingo, or like, hey, what if you just play that violin upside down and do some weird thing with it, or play it just like tapping it or using a fork or something, you know what I mean? Just kind of weird stuff. And that's how you get innovation and cool new things. And people hear that and they're like, what is that? Robert Dudzik is great for that. Oh yeah, that dude is a sound design master. He does some really cool stuff. And he knows how to wring out the towel when it comes to like getting a lot of cool sounds. I appreciate people that do that someone might see like, oh, that's just like some broken fan, but then it's like, oh, what if I like attach a chain to it and then like record it and then reverse the sound and then put this thing on it and then play it through this and layer it with that. Like, that's how you just get really unique sound design and stuff, that's perfect for things like this too. But let's see. But yeah, I was thinking about maybe putting another ambience. Let's see, someone was talking about rust ambiences. Maybe I'll do that. Duplicate this. Yeah, human curiosity is a good thing to have, and that's another thing. Like with like all the AI talk, it's like, I think, like, I don't know why there's this like rush to get technology that makes some, especially creative decisions. I think AI has its place in being able to, help with, speed things up. But when it comes to stuff like if there was like a paint, canvas and paint, and then like, all right, I'm gonna bring this robot, like, all right, sketch me out something real quick and blah blah blah. Like that's no fun in that. It's for me anyway. Unless you just like watching robots paint. That's a whole nother thing. So let's see. Let's use one of these ambiences. They're I mean, yeah, because yeah, it becomes scary very quickly. Yeah, that's why it's hilarious to, I mean, especially being a kid who grew up in the 90s and watching Terminator, and you just see all those memes of John Connor looking back on his motorcycle, like John Connor watching you play around with AI, which cracks me up. But it's just the buzzword at the moment. I mean, I think there's always hopefully going to be a place for people that to really explore being creative, and it's just a different way of working. Like the end goal to me, I mean, yeah, we're always trying to get to a goal and accomplish it, but just getting to the goal, I think shouldn't be like the main thing. It's like people say, enjoy the journey, not the destination. Like getting there is awesome. Of course, we always want to get to a destination, but the journey is definitely the thing that you want to experience, because that's what makes you feel good. Like, man, like I remember sitting in my room and like working on that thing, or working on that song and taking the time to really like find that chord progression that spoke to me, or then it inspired this whole other thing, and then I wrote an album. Like that is the cool thing, saying, write me a song that sounds like someone sitting under a tree and they saw a petal fly towards, I don't know, like write a book. Let's see, let's check out some of these ambiences. I don't remember who was asking about it. Was it you, Neil? You were asking about checking out some of the Rust ambiences. Here, let me turn off some of these effects. Let me go through. Let me try one of these other Rust libraries. Let's try Rust 4. Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. So this is layer 1 ensembles. Let's go to ambiences. Thank you. Yeah, we try to offer as many cool sonic options for you guys, to have fun exploring and getting creative with, because we like exploring and getting creative with them. Just like right now, every time I pull up old libraries that maybe I haven't used as much, it's always fun to just kind of explore and get inspired by, just the idea of just kind of going through and checking things out, or playing through different effects presets, stuff like that. Especially the ambiences. But I like how a lot of these, like you hear that, how this last one had a little bit of has a little bit more of a little bit of top end, but then this one's more. And to me, this kind of stuff is like go-to for, if let's say you're scoring like a TV show, and you just want this like subtle tension, like just a sound like this is cool, maybe not that, but you know what I mean. Just kind of like playing a single note. My wife likes flatulence. Oh, flatulence. That one is near and dear to my heart, and near and dear to my fart. I you know, to be open here, you know, some of those sounds I contributed. It's not very often that your boss says, "Hey, we're working on this thing. Can you record some of your farts?" Sure, why not? Because they're gonna happen anyway. She's a big kid. Yeah, well that's good. I think we should never lose that. Don't lose your dinosaur, as they say. Trying to think if there's an ambience that would be a cool sound to sort of close this out. Let's try this. Trying to think of something subtle just to kind of have it fade out. Let me not be lazy and name this. Excuse me. Rust 4, Ambience 3. You gotta capitalize. Don't be lazy. Shift Enter. So that Shift Enter is something else Cubase users. So like stuff like what I just did, how I just kind of like duplicated the track and then programmed some MIDI, but it was named wrong, and then you rename it when you enter it, or when you're like, you know, changing the name. So let's say I just did like Amb, or it was that, right? But like, oh no, I want it to be, you know, Ambience 3. You could do Shift Enter and it renames the little MIDI event. Pretty useful instead of having to like do that later on. Just kind of keeps things tidy. So I think we're at a little over 2-hour mark. I think we might be at the end. If there's any other questions that people have before we go ahead and wrap this up, we'll do one more playthrough of what we've been working on, and then I think we'll call it a stream. This was a lot of fun. I definitely want to do more of these. I think it's really cool being able to just kind of compose music and chat with you guys at the same time, being able to answer questions in real time. You know, if you like this kind of stuff, definitely subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date whenever we're, you know, posting new videos. Planning to try to get some more cool interview content for you guys. It's always cool to be able to see how other composers work. You know, I love to see it, and it's just, and I think it's cool videos to, you know, to put on the channel for you. You know, hopefully inspire you and see how other people work. You know, if you're just like me and you're a nerd and you just like seeing other people's studios, it's always cool. New walkthroughs for products. We have a lot of really cool stuff in the works. We're always trying to stay busy here. And yeah, planning to want to do some more live streams, at least like maybe like 1 or 2 a month or something, depending on, you know, how things are going. Thank you, really appreciate it. Awesome. But yeah, I think that might be it for today. I really appreciate those of you who have been hanging out for the stream. It's really cool, really appreciate it. But yeah, subscribe, sign up to our newsletter if you want to stay up to date on, you know, other stuff we got going on, exclusive discounts, stuff like that. We also have a Discord. If you click the link in the description, we have a Discord channel. We'd love to build that more. Love to, you know, maybe even take some of these projects from these live streams, bring them in to the Discord so you guys can download them if you're Cubase users, or just download the MIDI, play around with the MIDI if that's something you guys would be interested in doing. We can definitely do that. But sign up to the Discord. We'd love to chat with you guys. We want to build the community even more. But I think for that, I think that about wraps everything up. We'll give this track a little playthrough, and then we will call it a stream. So I want to thank you guys so much. let's give this another listen. Don't turn the lights off. I know I won't. And yeah, see you soon. All right. Thanks for watching. Happy Halloween. Stay safe. Don't eat too much candy. And we will see you in the next one. Take care.